Many people struggle with the fundamental rules of algebra. This causes them to struggle with the fundamental rules of geometry, trigonometry, calculus, and many other higher math courses. In my speech today, I'm going to be talking about one fundamental formula that's used in algebra that can help people throughout other higher forms of math. This formula is called the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is used to find the answer to a quadratic equation. A quadratic equation is any equation that is to the second power. It is normally written as ax squared plus bx plus c. The quadratic formula, which is used to solve this equation for x, is written as x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Today I am going to be doing an example problem, and that example problem is going to be negative 4x squared plus 16x plus 9. The quadratic formula for this will be x equals negative 16x plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 multiplied by negative 4 multiplied by 9 divided by 2 multiplied by negative 4. Simplified down, this will be x equals negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 plus 144 divided by negative 8. Simplified down again, this will be x equals negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 400 divided by negative 8. Simplified down one final time, this is x equals negative 16 plus or minus 20 divided by negative 8. To simplify the equation any further, the equation must be split into its additive and subtractive forms. The additive form will be x equals negative 16 plus 20 divided by negative 8. The subtractive form will be x equals negative 16 minus 20 divided by negative 8. These forms simplify down so that x equals negative 1/2 and x equals 9/2. I selected this equation so that no negative would form under the square root, or the radicand as it is called in higher math courses. If a negative were to have formed under the square root, or radicand as I will refer to it from here on out, if a negative were to have formed underneath the radicand, then the answer would change entirely. If, for example, this portion right here was x equals negative 16 plus or minus the square root of negative 400 divided by negative 8, that would change the entirety of the answer and the entire problem after that point. To get rid of a negative under a radicand, you must first take the letter I and put it in front of the radicand, or square root. Then you can get rid of the negative and solve as per normal to negative 16x plus or minus 20i divided by negative 8. Then you can simplify down as per normal so that x equals negative 4 plus or minus 5i divided by negative 2. This is the final form of that equation if it were to be negative 400 instead of normal 400. In overview, the quadratic formula is an important tool that is a necessity for understanding higher level math courses